What does Martin Luther King Jr., Booker T. Washington, Langston Hughes, Oprah Winfrey, W.E.B. Du Bois, what do they all have in common? They all attended an HBCU. At the age of 18, I left a small town in rural North Carolina to attend a college that was part of a category called Historically Black Colleges and Universities, or HBCUs. The higher education system in the United States is the best, and it's the most diverse in the entire world. There is a veritable smorgasbord for anyone interested in getting a college degree. HBCUs are institutions that were established prior to 1964 for the express purpose of educating African Americans. Today, they enroll only about 10% of all African Americans in the United States, but they account for almost 20% of African American college graduates. The most recent data indicate that HBCUs have a $10.2 billion economic impact on this nation's economy. I want you to think about this for a moment. More than 50% of this nation's black public school teachers and 70% of this nation's black dentists are products of HBCUs. Historically, these institutions have admitted students of all races, and now almost 40% are other than African American. These institutions are now some of the most diverse in this country. I ask you, what is the HBCU experience? These were institutions that were created with a very clear educational objective: to educate men and women for the purpose of helping others. The educational ethos included, among other things, that an education not oriented towards service and justice was incomplete. Just look, for example, at the motto of some of these great universities: Winston-Salem State University, enter to learn and depart to serve, or North Carolina Central University's truth and service. HBCUs have strived to be driven by something more than the market economy. There has been the vision that a university would be an inescapable social force for good. This has attracted a cadre of faculty, staff, and administrators to these institutions who came because of a strong sense of mission and providing an excellent educational experience to those who had been denied access because of racial, social, cultural, or economic barriers. They have been driven by the fundamental belief that all of our citizens should have access to a higher education if they so desired. HBCUs have a long history of educating low-income and underrepresented students. These institutions have created a different educational experience, one that alumni often refer to as a culture of caring. A hospital study found that patients reported a better experience if a nurse had given them a warm blanket prior to surgery. I submit to you that HBCUs are the warm blankets of our higher education system. I want to tell you just a minute about Fred Powell. A former student and mentee is a classic example of the power of the HBCU experience. Fred was told by his high school guidance counselors that he wasn't college material and that he should at best consider applying to a community college. Fred attended North Carolina Central University because no other university would accept him. He was told that his test scores were too low, and they told him he could never be successful in college. Fred credits the mentoring from the faculty for giving him the confidence to be able to excel academically. I am so proud to tell you that I talked to Fred the other day, and Fred just received his MD and PhD from Boston University School of Medicine, and is currently chief resident of anesthesiology at Boston Medical Center. Creating a high-touch environment and a commitment to mentoring students is so much a part of the HBCU experience. The approach has always been one of focusing in on strengths, objecting to those who would use labels of deficit, disadvantage, and at risk. There are thousands of Fred Powells out there, students all across this country, achieving students from low-income families who desperately want to earn a 4-year degree. Many never actually set foot on a college campus because of social cultural factors, which include family obligations or simply just getting tripped up by those complicated FAFSA forms. Many are overwhelmed because they don't want to or don't know how to ask for help. Things spiral out of control, and before they know that, they're back at home resentful, demoralized, and oftentimes in debt. They had no one at that institution to give them a warm blanket. Okay, so far so good, guys. You had the test. Let's recap. What is the HBCU experience? A culture of caring, preparing students for a life of service with an education towards social justice, a high-touch educational environment, admissions policies centered on providing access to those who had traditionally been denied. I like it. Great. Where do we go from here? What's next for HBCUs? The high-touch, caring environment provides the perfect platform for moving into a space of innovation, creativity, and design thinking in the mold of George Washington Carver, an HBCU professor and one of the greatest scientists of all time. It was a strong sense of purpose and focused mission of creating a better world that was the driving force behind Dr. Carver's work. We must today begin to prepare and develop students who are embracing the velocity of change and helping us find ways and quickly adapting to it. Most of us would prefer to live in a world where there are clear rules about what predicts success in our lives and in business. The rapid change in technology and the disruptive forces in higher education have punctured that myth. Yet that doesn't mean that models of inspiration don't exist. HBCUs are one of them. The innovation and change surrounding HBCUs must be centered around several key areas that will improve student success and prepare them for the ever-changing and fast-paced world. The design of a new curriculum that includes competency-based education. Higher education must transform itself rapidly to this global, digital, technology-driven, and knowledge-based world. The next disruption in higher education will be competency-based education. What you can do will be more important than your degree. A new faculty and academic business model. As disruption has swept through most of higher education, the faculty model in traditional institutions has remained unchanged for the past 100 years. Yet the tension between full-time and adjunct faculty represents a threat, but yet a challenge for us to create new faculty models for the future. Creating living and learning centers that are embedded in cultural and historical relevance. The changing demographics in the United States will require universities to create a physical presence that will clearly demonstrate that they support and uplift diversity. Then new pedagogical approaches for underserved populations. What are the cognitive, social, emotional challenges of students who are members of these groups? We must invest in new technologies that will allow us to understand learning styles and design courses to improve learning and student outcomes for underserved groups. A comprehensive program for the growing adult learner student. Non-traditional students are the fastest growing population, and they will demand, and there is a need that we develop programs that are hybrid, online, and fast-tracked. New wave is coming, and we must prepare for that. They will demand that from us. And lastly, we must create new and meaningful partnerships with our alumni, with local businesses, communities, government, and private industry. What we want to do is hopefully get businesses to incentivize degree completion by sharing with tuition and creating professional development dollars that will allow an individual to reduce the personal cost of obtaining a college degree. And as the future of higher education remains so uncertain and disruptive, I am encouraged by those institutions like HBCUs who are mission-driven. During the past 20 years, the higher education system in this country has become increasingly more stratified. Most students from upper-class families do well, while those students from middle and low-income families struggle to get into college and struggle to complete their degrees. And it is hard for me to imagine how this nation can regain its global competitiveness or improve its economic mobility without HBCUs who are committed to reversing this disturbing trend. A large part of the solution lies in the core of the HBCU experience. To take large numbers of highly motivated middle and lower socioeconomic students and give them the tools to become successful professionals. Thank you.